Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to WZO's annual seminar on Zoroastrian history, religion, and culture. Our three speakers are Mobedyar Mahshad Khosraviani, who hails from Toronto in Canada, Dr. Leon Goldman, who is presently a postdoctoral research fellow at SOAS, and from USA, Kjersti Schroff, who is an attorney. Today, their cumulative wisdom and research will add to our knowledge, we hope. I will leave it to each session chairman to introduce the speakers again, but before I start, I would like to welcome Mahshad to commence this event by reciting the Zarathushti and Beresat prayers. Thank you. Mahshad, thank you very much.
به نام اورمزد بخشاینده بخشایشگر مهربان، اورمزد پناه باد دیز بشنی شاد باد، یتا و هومری و تارتوش شاد چید هچا ونکه اوش دزدام رنکه اوش شاد نام انکه اوش مزدای خشرم چا هورای آیم در گوبیو دارد واس دارم یتا و هومری و تارتوش شاد چید هچا ونکه اوش نزدام رنکه اوش شاد نام انکه اوش مزدای خشرم چا هورای آیم در گوبیو دارد واس دارم تندرستی دیر زوشنی اوایت هر ننگر اشنوی دار یزدان می نوان و یزدان گیتیانم شاست پندان می از ده روشن هما برساد این دودمان شاد باد آفرین باد همه اندر کسان را زرتشت دین شاد باد ایدون باد خواهان باد اورمزد خدا را همه انجمن را دین زرتشتی را همه بهدینان را تندرستی نیکنامی تندرستی زندگانی تندرستی فراخ روزی تندرستی شادی و رامشنی تندرستی همه باشندگان زندگانی دراز باد دیر بدار شاد بدار تندرست بدار ایدون بدار بر سر ارزانیان بدار سالهای بسیار روزهای بیشمار جاوید و پاینده بدار 100,000 هزار آفرین باد سال خجسته باد روز فرخ باد ماه فرخنده باد چندین سال چندین روز چندین ماه بسیار سال ارزانی دار یزش نانیایش رادیو زور و برشنه اشوی دار اول هما کار و کفه ها تندرستی باد رادی باد نیکی باد خوبی باد ایدون باد ایدون ترج باد پرمزدم شاس بندان کامه باد نشونشم بهو وشتمستی اوش داوستی اوش احماوی هیان شایی وشتایشم برساد و بپذیراد و بنوشاد دادار اورمزد پسند یزدان باد هیاره بهان رساد به خوشنودیه مینوی دادار اورمزد را یومند و خرومند به خوشنودی مینوی اورمزد ابوگای سری ویس بیشام به خوشنودی مینوی بهمن و ماه و گوش و رام به خوشنودی مینوی اردی بلشت بلند و آدر و سروش و برهرام به خوشنودی مینوی شهریور و خور و مهر آسمان و انارام انقل روشنگاه خدا به خوشنودی مینوی سپندار مست آبان و دین و اردمان رسپند به خوشنودی مینوی خرداد تشتر و باد و فروردین به خوشنودی مینوی امرداد رشنش داد و زامیاد به خوشنودی مینوی هاون و رپیتمن و زیرن و عوی سراترم و شنگاه باد به خوشنودی مینوی گاه گاتابیو اهنود اشتبد سپنتمد و او خشد و اشتوش باد به خوشنودی مینوی همی زد برزی زد نیرو سنگی زد دهمان و وهان و فرینی زد باد به خوشنودی مینوی گاه گاهان باد مایدیو زارمگاه مایدیو شمگاه پیتی شمگاه ایو سرمگاه مایدیارمگاه هم از پیتیمگاه باد به خوشنودی امروز روز فیروز و فرخ روز فروردین ماه خجست ماه خرداد گاه هاون برساد پسند و پذیرفته دادارون مزباد کامه باد ایدون باد ایدون ترج باد اشم بهو ویشتمستی بوشتاوستی بوشتحمایی هیت اشتایی ویشتایی اشم.
Right. I would like to invite Mahshad once again and Jimmy Marden to take the stage and start the first session. Yes?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you all for coming today. I sincerely hope you enjoy and benefit from the talks today and go back home a bit more enlightened on our wonderful religion and with a lot more food for thought. I feel privileged to introduce our first speaker for today, Mobedyar Mahshad Khosraviani. Mahshad is currently a student, double majoring in international business law at the Schulich School of Business and Human Resource Management at York University, Toronto, Canada. Born and raised in Tehran, Mahshad and her family migrated to Toronto a little over a decade for a more desirable and secure future. Barely 21 years of age, she trained and qualified for the ordainment as a Mobedyar through her consistent perseverance and dedication. In the summer of 2012, she was ordained as the first Zarathushti lady Mobedyar on the North American continent. She has been endowed with the honor of becoming the youngest female Zoroastrian priestess in Iran and the first in North America, the fruitful outcome of a formidable venture. Mahshad has been requested to conduct numerous religious ceremonies, functions, and events around the globe, including Australia and America, and joins us as a guest speaker here in London today. I'm sure we are all eagerly waiting to hear more about her ordainment and experiences as a female Mobedyar. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mahshad.
In the name of Abda, the one without beginning, and Abi Anjam, the never-ending creator, I will commence this presentation. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, and my dear friends. I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for attending this presentation today, and I hope that you would understand my Canadian accent. As Jimmy so kindly introduced me, my name is Mahshad Khosraviani. I'm 23 years old, and aside from my studies, I teach Avesta classes every Sunday, and I've been doing so for almost 9 years now. I am an active member of the both Irani and Parsi communities in Toronto, and I also write articles for the Zoroastrian Society of Ontario and the Huffington Post newsletter. So, my journey as the first female Zoroastrian priestess in North America and the youngest in Iran began at a very young age. Being the only girl growing up in an Orthodox Zoroastrian Persian family had its fair share of perks, but definitely wasn't short of hindrance. I always felt that I was at a disadvantage when engrossed in religious and cultural activities and other masculine diversions. and the impediment sensation was a constant trouble, even through my juvenile years. But I must say that my childhood in Iran was just as colorful and exuberant as any other kids' in West. My infancy was nothing short of love, luxury, and tranquility, with necessary discipline, of course, when needed. The individuals who have never been to Iran and have only pursued what the media has offered must be mindful that there is so much more to the country and its people than what the press projects. Sure, the country has its flaws and predicaments, but that is injustice to its citizens. Our identities, beliefs, and self-confidence are shaped by the upbringing and the environment that is created throughout our childhood. I recall numerous times where I had been cut short of an opportunity or impeded from activities due to my gender. Girls are to play with dolls and boys with balls. The prejudicial gulf between men and women is an overpowered reality that is admissible by society today. Certain class of men, accustomed to generations in power, see both their influence and their institution challenged by women, which can, at times, become a bruising and ugly and profoundly socially unjust battle. The way I see it, life is a game without a replay option. We start and end each day with hopes and dreams of a better tomorrow, the tomorrow that is yet to come for many. And yet, it bothers me and saddens me that the society holds back people regardless of their value and worth to a cause based on their gender. A change was what I desired, but I knew it had to start small in order to flourish into an anchored revision in our community. So I set forth to be the change I wanted to see. Growing up, I craved the same rights and freedom as my brother and other male family members. The rejection of the levy resulted in disobedience and inquisitiveness to achieve fairness and justice in what I now view it to be an unripe maneuver. As Christopher Reeve once said, a hero is an ordinary person who finds the strength to preserve and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. At the time, I viewed my womanhood as an obstacle in life and strived for equality and liberty to be the person I desired to be, or better say, my own hero. But I do admit that my mindset and attitude has matured to love and accept my feminine side without dwelling on my past experiences. I have realized that validation from others is a costly deed despite one's sexual category, for we are all already valuable in our own unique ways. Acceptance, respect, and credence are the ingredients to a serene and respectful fellowship allying both genders. The Zoroastrian community in Toronto erupted when I initially embarked on the quest to ply my aspiration of becoming a religious revolver at the age of 17, and attaining myself, more than anything else, a strong, mentally and spiritually, and most importantly, happy being. Because their notion of a priestly figure had always been of a man, and so a woman doing the same was a groundless deed. It was an intrigued journey, but just like everything else in life, determination, dedication, and faith in my vision and dreams, with the support of many, I was able to be honored with the title of the first female Zoroastrian priestess in North America at the age of 20 and the youngest in Iran, and the only priest in the history accepted by both the Iranian Moved Council and the NAMC. So, the arousal that had moistened my rooted aspiration had been the bafflement shadowing the rejoinder I offered to questions such as, what is your religious belief? I'm a Zoroastrian, I would say. Such questions cast a metaphorical wide fishing net, as it helps in picking up certain cues and characteristics of a person. A person's religious belief can encompass their personal philosophies, cultural backgrounds, values, and broadly a large part of their identity. Yet in my case, a look of confusion is all I obtain. It is a frequent occurring situation throughout most of our lives as Zoroastrians, and I'm sure you too have most definitely experienced this. But it never fails to amaze me, owing to the impact that the faith has had throughout the history. But I do not blame people for the lack of their knowledge. A religion which at one point numbered in millions and now has fallen into near obscurity. I had aimed to be a torchbearer by imprinting equality and inspiring others to become competent in the Zoroastrian religion and prevent it from diminishing. To put simply, our religion is one of the first monotheistic faiths and was founded by the prophet Zarathustra. Zarathustra received several visions from Ahura Mazda, the uncreated supreme God, from Vahumana, which brought about revelations outlining the purpose of Ahura Mazda and his work in upholding Asha, or truth. It revealed the existence of Angramenu, the destructive mind, who thought to spread druj, or lies, and evil. Asha not only means truth, but goodness, honesty, and order, while druj means lies, hate, evil, anger, and chaos. The revelations were laid out through songs and poems containing the core teachings of Zarathustra, known as Gathas. The central theme of Gathas is the practice of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. The Zoroastrians believe that good and evil always existed since the creation of mankind, and there has always been a battle of one against other. It is through our good thoughts, our good words, and our good deeds that we assist Ahura Mazda and strengthen the path of Asha against druj. It is an influential concept, since anyone can be a Zoroastrian as long as they follow the righteous path. It also highlights the importance Zoroastrianism places on free will by illustrating that the righteous path is an active process, one where we must constantly use our mind, our words, and our action to promote it. Zarathustra at first faced some oppositions for this new faith, but after finding acceptance with the local king, the religion spread and over centuries came to dominate most of the Persian Empire, including Iran, Afghanistan, parts of Iraq, and Central Asia. It went as far as east as southern China and as far west as Asia Minor. It became the official religion of the Persian Empire for millennia and was the dominant religion of the region until the arrival of Islam. A series of conversions, persecutions, and spread of Islam over centuries diminished the faith, with a small number fleeing to India and an ungenerous number surviving in Iran. Those who fled to India are known as the Parsis. and they are the larger of the two Zoroastrian groups. The first migration took place around 1,000 years ago with a series of successive migrations over the centuries. However, our religion, today is in state of decline. This is primarily due to low birth rates, exclusion of children from mixed marriages, and failing and refusing to accept converts. At this point, I request that each and every one of you would explore my words with an open mind, for this is only my opinion. I do not wish for any hard feelings. One of the main ways that I believe that we can preserve and reverse this steep decline is by educating and allowing conversion to those who are interested in joining the faith, and also accepting the children of mixed marriages. Unfortunately, there is a stiff opposition to such thinking, as many feel it would dilute the faith or damage the religion. Such beliefs are groundless. Zoroastrianism itself spread through conversions. There are historical records of conversions that occurred throughout the different Persian empires. The narrow and rather segregated thinking that several Zoroastrians hold today damages the true message of Zarathustra, which is to elevate the goodness in all. Such message cannot be justified and is based around themes and ideas that are not part of the Zoroastrian Gothic message. It has been incredibly detrimental to the faith since it does not adapt, and it will result in an eventual religious extinction unless ideas radically change and adapt to the 21st century. Adaptation is necessary for any system to survive. One of the laws of the universe is the selection of the fittest system, whether they are physical, biological, or philosophical systems. All of these systems need to evolve and adapt to survive in a metaphorical and physical sense. The most successful of species are the most adaptable to their environment, and using this adaptability, they produce their genes with the most efficiency. They are seen as being genetically fit. In the same manner, the most successful philosophies are also highly adaptable and spread their ideas quickly and efficiently while attracting new followers. By following rules and guidances that were usually written thousands of years ago before this time, and demanding to fit into this lifestyle is identical to hammering a square peg into a round hole. That results for most parts in frustration, confusion, and apostasy. If your house was on fire and the firemen came with their truck, that marvelous equipment with the big long hoses with all the water surging through, and put the water in your house to extinguish the fire, you'd say, indeed, that was an appropriate behavior. But if on a day that there is no fire, those same firemen with their truck and hoses entered your house, spraying water everywhere, you'd say that was not appropriate. And so it is with the laws that we are passing one from another. Most of them are not appropriate to that which we are now living. If we had not intended growth, we would not have been here in this physical life. And if that which was figured out long ago was the ultimate, then we would not have any reasons for our existence today. We are here as an expanding, ever-changing, growth-seeking human beings. By allowing those interested to convert to Zoroastrianism, we are opening a path and introducing an option for those seeking companionship outside the religion. Please, I request that you would be mindful that I have absolutely no intention of promoting such behavior, but I will also not be the one to terminate one's relationship based on such decisions or stop one from joining the faith. I request at this time to please raise your hand if you have ever dated or know of someone who is currently dating a non-Zoroastrian person. I request that you raise your hand if you have ever dated or know of someone who has dated a non-Zoroastrian person. Does anyone want to volunteer to share that experience or say a bit about it? Please.
Mumbai, which I still refer to Bombay, which is the heartland of Zoroastrian orthodoxy. I have no hesitation, even if everyone were to raise a revolver right now at me, to say, not only have I dated a Muslim girl, but at her request, I've taken her to 2 fire temples in Bombay.
Anyone else would like?
In
Sorry.
one of the fire temples, I don't know if you understand Gujarati.
No.
One of the dasturs there said, "Aaj chokri to jara parjat lage." That means this girl appears to be a non-caste lady. So I have certainly done that. And I have taken a small child from an institution whose religion I would not know. On my birthday, put a cap on her, and I took her to a fire temple. I won't claim to have dated her, but I...
Well, thank God for that. Anyone else would like to share? I will take one more. Yes, go on.
My daughter's father is non-Zoroastrian, and I'm very proud of him, and I'm welcome him.
Thank you. The environment. The environment that we are exposed to is a world vast from one our ancestors lived, and yet it is our obligation to alter this route to benefit our religion for the sake of the future generations. I remember vividly, as if it was just this morning, when my brother sat me down to tell me about his Irish girlfriend who he is keen to have a future with. I'm sure I could have had a heart attack right at that moment if he had not worded his proposal properly. I have converted few individuals into the religion and even have conducted a wedding of a non-Zoroastrian to the Zoroastrian member of our community, which ranks the first ever wedding ceremony done by a female priestess in our history. And yet, I had always thought and assumed that it would never happen for my family. But at that moment, when I was faced with such statement, I was left speechless. He had come to me not only as his sister, but as a priestess to seek guidance. I was forced to take a step back, leave my emotions aside, and think logically as what Zarathustra would have done. Can anyone tell me what would have Zarathustra done if he was the one speaking to my brother that morning? Sorry?
He would have welcomed.
I think so too, yeah. I think he would have gone up to hug my brother for finding the courage to come forth and given him the same advice that he gave his daughter Priestess. He would also openly accept and welcome his girlfriend into the faith, just like he had when initiating the religion. He would have reminded them both that a union is cemented by unconditional love and a vow of lifelong commitment, leaving no room for lust, infidelity, and wrongfulness. For such activities will not only destroy those involved, but its ripple will affect others too. I believe that Zoroastrianism can find a way to allow willful newcomers into the faith while preserving the original message of Zarathustra. As a Zoroastrian priestess, it is my duty to ensure an enduring future for my religion by preserving the core message while changing the cultural biases that impair Zoroastrianism. There are too few natural births to sustain any sort of viable population growth, and it would sadden me deeply to see it fall into records of religious history. A radical refurbished of social, cultural, and spiritual thinking has to happen. I hope this message can invoke the youth and all you present today to start thinking of such ideas and how we can implement them to ensure not only that we survive, but also prosper. My generation is immersing into a constant battle of self-identity and social acceptance. I have spoken to numerous youth community members who are frustrated to preserve and present the religion and also not be the odd one with a never heard of faith. They are also challenged to be social but not form a union with a non-Zoroastrian individual. Indeed, a challenging task when inserted into a multicultural environment. I have recently signed a contract to produce a documentary based on our religion and a brief showcase of my journey as a Mobedyar. But our main focus is to introduce our faith in a way that it fits with the Western society and highlights its paramount effect on the history of other religions. A chance for us to show everyone who we are and what we stand for. Everything that is believed and is thought to guarantee a profound and meaningful life by all the philosophers, bloggers, scientists, and talk shows are the words that our prophet gifted us in Gathas. And that is why I'm so damn proud to be a Zoroastrian. Like all faiths, the philosophies and tenets of Zoroastrianism is one that must be questioned and pondered upon. Given that the current intellectual appetite is to move away from religion toward the secularism and atheism, one may ask, why follow Zoroastrianism? Is it really that different from the myth of old? While these are questions any well-meaning rationalist person may ask, concepts of faith are subjective and open to an individual's interpretation. Faith is a subjective quality and is in many ways similar to other subjective experiences. With my searching, I came across my own answers as to why I follow Zoroastrianism. It's not because I was born into it, although that has helped, but I have explored and questioned my faith as well as other faiths. And after years of research and reflection, I came up with my own answers as to why I decided to stay a Zoroastrian and take a life of a priestess. To put simply, the word religion transfers to din in Farsi, which originates from the word dainu, that means kharat in Farsi or thoughts in English. Therefore, according to Zarathustra, for one to be considered a religious person, their thoughts should have a positive impact on their words and thereby their deeds. It was said by Zarathustra that one does not need to be a Zoroastrian to be accepted. We are all first born as human beings, then an Iranian or a Parsi, and lastly a Zoroastrian. The Zoroastrianism's main message is one of upholding the righteous path of Asha. An atheist can be a Zoroastrian by dedicating his life to truth and goodness. In many ways, people who look for truth and strive to help others are far better people than who may call themselves religious but follow the ways of Ahriman through deceit and lies. The way of Asha, of goodness and order, truth and justice can be practiced by anyone in any society. It does not necessarily need special inclinations or modes of prayers or rituals or religious figureheads. For every good thoughts, good words, or good deeds we do, we are helping Ahura Mazda and each other to grow and prosper as a society. And we have the choice to do so since there is no compulsion. This gives us the concept of free will. Within this concept, we can choose to follow righteousness over deceit. And so, I like once again to express my keen concern with the future of our religion and wish that no one present here today is offended by my notions or suggestions and can ponder upon them with an open mind and hopefully generate a lifestyle that would allow acceptance, conversion, along with maintaining the original message of our prophet. By ensuring a strong and undefeatable religion, an insurance of survival and prosperity is birthed, that no conversion or apostasy would impair it. As Mother Teresa said once, if I look at the mass, I will never act. The more who die, the less we care. But if I look at one, I will act. And so, the more that leave the faith, the less we tend to care. But if we care for one at a time and open our arms for those wishing to convert and join the religion, we will have a better chance at preserving this beautiful religion. It is not I nor you who can make a difference. It is when you and I join together to form we that a sustainable, solid, and healthy change is attainable.
That was truly enlightening, especially towards the end with the concept of an atheist and following the religion. I truly, as an individual, was very fascinated with those thoughts, and I think we can now open the floor for some questions. We have some time. I'm pretty sure you can.
Just before we take questions, Mahshad, would you like to just go through the slides?
Oh yes.
All right.
So this is the ceremony of my initiation as a priestess in Toronto. From left to right is John Bagley, who is my mentor. Then we have Kerman Katarak, there is me, and Kobad Zarulia, who is the president of NAMC, the North American Movement Council. So at this time I was given my certificate from NAMC, and the one over here is the one I was given in Iran as a Mobedyar. So that is the first Navjot ceremony that I have done, again with Jahan Bagley and Jal Pentaki. They were born into a Zoroastrian family, but the mother was a non-Zoroastrian member who had converted to religion, and so the kids had the Navjot done. Same event, yes. Same event.
natural, they are the same age?
There were two twins of 9. The middle child was 8 years old. So there were 9 and 8.
That's it? Yes?
I think so.
Okay, come and sit. Take questions and answers now.
We have a few hands up. Just the one in front. Sean.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you, Mahshad, on a very powerful and very moving talk. I thought it was a brilliant presentation.
Thank you.
That's that. And what I just thought I'd share with you is that 25 years ago, your mentor, Jahan Bagli, invited me to give a talk in Philadelphia. And my subject was female priests. Because I had myself wanted to become a priest coming from a priestly family. And the North American Iranian Priests Council that existed then was very encouraging of me, and I was told of 2 texts that contained references to female priests, the Nirangistan and the Herberestan. But when I gave my talk in Philadelphia and I presented the evidence, I was more or less booed off stage because the mainly Parsi orthodoxy of Philadelphia did not want to know about it. So I wondered, you mentioned that you also had some difficulty when you first put this idea forward. Do you feel that, but of course in Iran it's accepted because we have 7 other female Mobedyars there. Do you feel that the climate has changed significantly now that it's been done and you are there, they can't get rid of you now? and just going on one more point, you mentioned about the fact that we need to radically adapt ourselves now to the new age because our religion is a dynamic one and if it's going to survive, it's got to be dynamic. But in fact, you did passingly mention that in our Gathas, which is the fundamental text, it says very clearly this message is to be spread for everybody to listen to with their own enlightened mind and their open ears. So we don't have to change anything really, it's there. And it's very important that Zoroastrians who call themselves Zoroastrians actually bother to read the Gathas before they hold forth and give opinions that are contrary to the Gathas. And that's the sadness, that people who call themselves Orthodox are not really familiar with the actual text. So that's where the message needs to go. But that's enough from me.
Well, in the last 3 years, ever since I did become a Mobedyar, I've seen a change, but not the way I wanted it to. Actually, when I do get home, for the first time in 3 years, I've been invited to do a Parsi Jashan. So I do see them accepting me a little bit, but it takes time. It will take time. We just have to be patient and open-minded and one at a time accept others for who they are. We can't pick flaws. We can't say, I'm better than you simply because I was born into this. It's a lifestyle that we all have to adapt and live to be a better person.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you whether you have in fact initiated not one but 2 things. The first one is of course that ladies can become priests. And secondly, I don't know whether you belong to a priestly family or not, but does your initiation also mean that men and women who are not descended from priestly families can become priests? Because in the democratization of the religion, this is most essential, that a monopoly should not be there for people to become priests, and all enthusiastic people should be allowed to be dastus.
So, part A, I'm not from a priestly family. I was not born into the blood, as everyone tends to say. And 2, back in the time, whatever your father used to do, it would be passed on to the next generation. So if my father was a doctor, growing up, I would be taught and I would become a doctor or an artist or whatever my father was. So if my father was a priest, my brother or my male cousins, by generation, would follow that. So the blood does not mean anything. It means nothing. Because when Zarathustra initiated the religion, those people were already existing. They accepted the religion, they adapted it, and he welcomed them into the religion with an open mind. So, to become a priest or a priestess or a mubed or a mobedyar, one has to learn the rituals. One has to go through the training to know what to do and what to say or what prayers to perform. That's what makes one a mobedyar. It's that dedication that one has to the religion. So if I was not born into the into the priestly family, that should not have stopped me from becoming a mobedyar. And yes, I am pursuing to become a mubed, hopefully in the near future.
Dear Michelle, I would like to ask you one question.
Yes.
And this is for the people who deny the choice of choosing our faith,
Yes.
which is basic fundamental right of any human being.
Yes.
I would like you to be candid about it and not soft, because you are in fact addressing their ignorance, what we call a hidden. So I hope you will give me an appropriate answer. The question is, what would you like to tell those people who deny other people to choose their own faith? The hypocrisy is
To choose their own faith or our faith to
to
practice.
choose everybody. If I want to change my religion,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
my choice.
Okay, I got your
Whether I'm a
question.
Zoroastrian
Yes.
or a Parsi or a Irani or whatever. So when it comes down to people wanting to choose our faith, they object to it. When it comes down to people wanting to choose other people's faith, that's the hypocrisy. They don't object to it.
Okay. So let me put it in another way. Who was not born in this country? Do you want to say where you've been born? Iran, India? Majority Iran, India? Pakistan? So you were not happy. You were not happy, satisfied, or for whatever reason, you just like UK, I guess. You moved here. You weren't happy. It didn't satisfy you. It didn't make you the person you wanted to be. You changed your country. You moved to another country. I personally studied biomed for 2 years. I went to medical school for 2 years. I hated it. Made me miserable. I used to come home crying. I changed. I'm studying law right now. So the change is given to us at any stage in life. A religion and a faith is a lifestyle that one adapts. So if I'm not happy as a Zoroastrian, I have every right to practice Islam, Christianity, or have no faith at all. That's my personal choice, and so is everyone else's. So for me to say that he is not welcome in my religion because he was not born into it, I am going against everything that Zarathustra has taught us and left us behind in Gotha.
Thank you, Anissa.
Hi.
Hello.
I think we've just looked at one aspect of the religion as in bringing people in. But there is another scenario that there are so many Zoroastrians that are leaving the religion. So it's like a leaking bucket.
Of course.
So maybe stopping that first and then try to top it up. Otherwise,
Well,
then
I did mention that it has to be adapted and presented in a way that it fits into this lifestyle. I know of many, I'm not going to say anything about UK, but of many in Toronto who simply do not understand the religion, who do not understand the words in this book or Gotha, because it's different. It was written for a different time. So for us changing that and making it understandable to the youth in this lifestyle is what we can do to stop that leak. And also accepting their choices. So if my brother, for example, decides to marry this girl, but if my parents don't welcome her and make her feel excluded, he obviously will leave the religion. He will follow her.
But that opens a whole different scenario, because we saw there were so many ladies in the room who said that they have dated or are currently dating non-Zoroastrian people. Now, if that progresses and they get married, it's almost certain that they will be leaving the Zoroastrian religion and probably becoming Catholic. So again, you can really see Muslim husbands
There's an argument
What you're saying, when we say people can't have any influence on others.
But my wife is Catholic. She respects the religion, but ultimately she will stay Catholic.
Yes, but your wife might choose that, but I don't think the younger generation didn't want to get anybody's religion or idea. I would have certainly let anybody.
What I'm going to say is that people feel the needs very strongly about their own religion. So for me, to tell my wife, or even feel for her to choose to become a Zoroastrian instead of a Catholic, then it has to be a very big choice that person has to make. And that's all. I'm just thinking, how is all of this going to happen? It's a broad brush statement to make that yes, put people into the religion and maybe happen. But how is it practically going to happen is my question.
Can I just say something? I've got so many Baha'i friends, and I know the women marry other religions, but hence they don't convert. They actually, the husbands convert. I think it's just because they've got a very strong community, and they kind of strongly believe in what they believe. We don't have that, unfortunately, here. We're so scattered, we don't have anything to teach our youth. Whenever I go and say Zoroastrian, there are just like a few number of youth and the young people coming. That's not good. And that causes when they marry other people, they just forget about their own roots and religion.
It's the parents' responsibility, let's put it that way. I spent most of my youth here in Canada, but my parents always made religion #1 priority. My dad would wake up every morning doing his Sidran question Avesta. We would speak only Dari at home. It was what was set up for us to learn and adapt. But we should also be given the freedom of choice if this religion does not make us happy.
We all talk about change, but I think the change has not happened because of the fundamentally we don't know enough about the religion. I think that is the starting point.
Well, that is each person's responsibility to learn and understand, yes.
But when you think about it, I mean, how many people attend religious lectures or want to know more
It's not their first priority.
Exactly. And I think till that happens, till people actually want to know what is written in the Gathas before making their mind up and not kind of going by what has been said from one generation to another.
Nothing will change, definitely.
How do you propose that change will come?
It has to come within each of us. No one can force that. But it's priorities that we all have to set.
It has got to come from that knowledge of what is there in the Gathas.
Of course.
And how do you propose that is done within the religion or that is done within the community?
To be honest, I'm still trying to figure out. I've been teaching Avesta classes for almost 9 years now, and each year I notice it's less and less and less and less kids attending. Why? Because it's not their priority. They much rather go to the park or sleep in or attend soccer or play piano on their Sunday morning rather than dedicating an hour or two to Avesta classes. Again, it's within the family. Nothing more, it's within the family. That's all I can say.
I think Mahshad did iterate the fact that Zoroastrianism is actually a way of life. So I think this talk about priorities is when your life actually overlaps the religion and the religion overlaps your thing. It's not exactly choosing a priority as in, oh, religion is something different that I have to follow today and then tomorrow I can go back to soccer or piano. When you use Zoroastrianism in your soccer and piano, I think that's when, that's how the religion should be handed down to you as a way of life and as a way to become a better human being rather than the priority.
Mahshad, I'm just a bit worried about confusing cultural issues with religious issues. And I was a bit alarmed about a few minutes ago when you, in answer to someone, said, Gathas were written in a different time and we need to adapt. And I think that's a very rash statement because the Gathas don't need to adapt. The Gathas are about ethics and what you're talking about, the adapting that's needed is about cultural norms and social norms. And I think you're not the only one. Often people get confused and say such things because of other religions which talk about their scriptures. Their scriptures were written in a different time and in a different context. But our Gathas are about ethics.
I do appreciate your question, and I'd like to make sure that you know that I'm not confused. I was referring to his question earlier where he said that it's not understandable, that the kids are leaving the faith. And what I was trying to say, that it has to be adapted in a language, in a concept that the youth can relate to. The Gathas, the Avestas are not something that any child can relate to or understand. That's what I was trying to say. I was not saying that Gatha has to adapt. That's not the case.
That's fine.
I'm only referring to our religion since this is a Zoroastrian seminar, and I'm saying that for us to prosper and not diminish is for us to adapt and accept others within the community. I've been told of many who want to convert and study a religion, and we simply deny them that right because they were not born into it. That's what I mean by that.
I think that as a parent, I've had a difficulty of, and a married out parent, a woman who married a non-Zoroastrian. I've had a difficulty, I think many people here share the same problem of how do we raise our children in the 21st century in this country with all the secularism that's around and the great tendency towards being humanist, where we say we don't need religion, we have ethics, we can have a morality without having to have a religion. And I think that's the great pull, because in this country works very well as a very compassionate, humane country, very tolerant, and it has space for everybody and everyone's different ways of life. So that is the big problem. And I think as a parent, you're right. You've got to start very young. And even though you may not think that teaching them Avesta is a good idea, I think it's a very good idea because children.
I do teach Avesta classes, so of course it's a good idea.
Just sort of, you said maybe the Avesta is not right for children. I think it's absolutely right because children are like little parrots when they're little. You can teach them anything. They're like sponges. They'll learn to recite very much more quickly, and they'll also learn, as Julie quite powerfully said, through your way of life. If you show the humane, charitable, kindness, helping other people, as a parent, it can't help but be observed by the child. And they will understand, and as I said, rituals, Nowruz rituals, beautiful rituals, Vatirigan Nowruz, the fun that we have, all of those really impact on a child. So it's absolutely essential that parents introduce their children as young as possible. Because by the age of 11, they will want to go to football, and they will want to go and do things with their friends, they will want to go to discos, they will want to hang out with their own friends. But if you've given them a very strong grounding as a child, that won't be forgotten, and when they're older, when they're about 30 or 40, like me, and perhaps like a few others, they will start thinking back to that wonderful culture that was given to them by their parents.
Can I just cut in please on this? Shaheen, what makes you think that Zarathustra was not a humanist?
No, I don't say he wasn't.
Yes.
I didn't say
He always is.
Yes, always is. I'm happy to endorse that.
That's fine. Thank you.
I have two questions. The first is maybe a bit ignorant, but if it's in my mind, I'm sure there's at least a couple of people. I'm sure there's at least a couple of other people in this audience with this first question. First, if you could just clarify for us the difference between the term Mobed and Mobedyar, and if you know.
Do you want me to do that first before you proceed to?
No, let me just ask the second question. The second question is, could you just share with us a bit about your experience, your actual experiences being trained as a priest, and I just say the word priest because it seems to be gender neutral. I'm curious and interested in that, and I'm curious and interested in, for those of us who don't know anything about priest training, how, in your understanding, your training, may have been similar or different to, say, a young man of Zoroastrian, a Zoroastrian young man of Iranian descent. I think a lot of us would be interested in your actual journey and experience in actually becoming what you are now.
Okay, well, part A of your question, a mubed is a priest. That's what it translates to. A Mobedyar is, the word yar means a helper, assistant. So a Mobedyar is an assistant to a priest or a mubed. So what we do, we assist them throughout rituals and jashans and whatever occasion it may be. But I am at this moment pursuing to become a full mubed. And in terms of my training, I cannot comment on any of the male mubeds or mubedyars in Iran or India, but I know that the Parsi mubeds or mubedyars have done all their training in India only, which I would never be allowed to. So I started when I was 17 years old, and I was mentored by, they took the photo down, by Jahan Bagli majority of the time. And that took us 3 years because obviously the community was not supportive, so we had to do it secretly. We would meet up at Darbemir on Sunday afternoons when no one would really attend. And we did that for 3 years. I would attend jashans in Gahambar, sit right at the back and take notes at what they were doing in front because no one was gonna teach me that. So before doing my NAMC test, I had done all my training in 3 years with Jahan, so that had been done. I went to Iran for 3 weeks because of school and university. I was only given a limited time off school. And I spent 3 weeks, day and night with Mubed Firuzgari. The majority of the times there were others who helped along. They taught me the rituals, the practices, how to perform the jashan, a death ceremony, a wedding, how to pronounce the proper words in Avesta or Gatha. They taught me how to read Din Dabira, which is the written scripture of our religion. And then they tested me for 5 days. So it was either, if I had not passed a single one of those tests, I would have to repeat everything. So luckily I was able to pass them all. So that was done. I came back to Canada with that certificate and I was able to be tested through NAMC. And once that was done, here I am.
Mahshad?
Yes.
You started your speech by using 2 names from the 101 names of Ahura Mazda.
Yes.
It was wonderful because you mentioned them and you translated the meaning of the words.
Thank you.
Rather than saying in the name of the Almighty and so forth.
I like to be unique, so. But thank you.
But the way forward for me to say is that, having done that, the audience understood what you were saying. Once all these years that the religion has been, it has not been in a language that was understood by the readers. And only now are we having books that come up with the translations. Secondly, every time, everywhere there is the mention of religion, gathas are mentioned. whilst our religious books, the prayers, do not mention the Gathas, although they are there, but the daily prayers of the Zoroastrian does not really refer to the Gathas. So that's where I see, apart from the first point of translation, even the second point is the non-understanding of what we have been taught in the past. That was just a comment I wanted to make. The second point is that from what history I have learned of Zoroastrianism, especially in India, with the influx of the Iranians who came, the gentleman in front was asking the question about the Mobed or the Mobedyar coming from a family of Mobeds. From what I know is that the institution of priests became very greedy, and it became so greedy in the past that there was a fight against the priests, and this fight separated priests, and they were then separated to such an extent that there were the Suratiyas and the Pagariyas, meaning, and they haven't had a boundary that the priest from a certain place cannot, do the work that was supposed to be done of crossing the boundary. So this being born into the family was just created within India after about 100 years of the landings, when the priests found that it was quite lucrative to have the donations given by the public at large. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you aware, and do you know that the vast majority of Parsis in the past have expressed their opinions and said that any person who marries outside the religion have displeased our Mazda, displeased God, and have committed a sin, and therefore their life will not be bountiful or beautiful or good. What is your opinion about that?
It makes no sense. It's not true. It's groundless, and it's false. That's all I have to say to that question.
I think we just about quarter to the end of the session now, and we have a short break. I just want to say one more thing before we finish. I have been married to Ursula.
Yes, thank you.
50 years. 50 years. We have a Zoroastrian household, even though she's German. It's a Zoroastrian household, and she has an affinity and an understanding of Zoroastrianism. It is only certain individuals who've attacked her or said, you can't be part of it. But we have been resolute in holding on, and we are still part of the community today. So it is to be brave and strong, and you will be successful. The one important thing, you drive away the non-Zoroastrian spouse, and you drive away the children. Always. This is very important in a long time. But we must persevere. The next generations that are coming, we should include them at an early age and not drive them out. Thank you.